All right, there we are.
All right. Hello, everybody. We are here for another glorious Sunday. We got a weird group of us. I know usually you're used to seeing like Jinx and Thermo, but today you got us. I'm very excited. Actually, we have a guest with us who is in our Discord. We actually share a couple of Discords together. We just sit and talk about cosplay all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. But we're going to start with introductions, and this is just kind of freeform today. We're going to talk about anything our desires hit. I know that you went to Hallmat recently, which I'm sure could be a full conversation there, and I've seen some of your 3D printing that I recently have just started getting into 3D printing, and my best friend just got one, and so I'm like, what secrets can I glean from anybody? But hello, everybody. I'm Chibi Raincloud. I'm the Pacific Northwest cosplayer. I've been cosplaying for a long time. I do a little bit of everything from panels to skits, performances, judging, kind of the full range. But my favorite place to be is in the workshop, learning new techniques and having fun with other cosplayers. And when you don't see me working on cosplay, I'd be working on D&D. I got a question about my D&D corner the other day. So yes, I have a D&D shelf. Just happens to be in my streaming corner. But yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Let's have a fun day, and moving on to this way. Lena.
All right. I'm usually more behind the scenes, so sorry if my microphone etiquette, etc., is lacking. But I'm Lena, aka Thermo Sidekick, as in Thermo Cosplay's sidekick. I very much enjoy doing that. I kind of burned myself out on crafting and cosplay, but I love the community. I love doing everything, so I didn't want to leave it. So I just like do handler and all that kind of stuff these days and support where I can. And I
All
think
right.
that's Matt. Oh, I think you're muted.
I think your mic's muted.
Your mic is muted.
I muted myself. I'm so sorry. Hi, this is twice in 1 month, which is a new record for CTL. I'm Head in the Clouds cosplay. I was back on our first of the year show. But now we're here talking to our lovely Shadowclaw cosplay. Been cosplaying since like 2018 or so today. I'm dressed as Thor of Asgard. Just a nice comfy one. It's another actual nice cloudy rainy day here in Arizona, so I thought Thor was fitting. Yeah, and we'll pass on to our guest.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm really happy to be here. I know, like Chibi and I had been talking. We've tried this a couple times, but life just, as they said in Jurassic Park, life just finds a way, right? But I'm Shadowclaw cosplay. I'm a Texas-based cosplayer. I've been cosplaying technically since about 2016, 2017. I kind of started in college and kind of got a soft start, so to speak. I didn't start doing really bigger projects until maybe a year or two later and hitting the con scene, because I think I didn't actually go to my first Comic-Con until like 2016. I was already in college because I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, and I thought, oh, those things are never going to come here. Well, lo and behold, they did. And then I discovered, oh, there's some not too far away from me. And I kind of ventured off from there. And, well, I've gone to several cons over the Southeast. I've done a few different projects now. And here we are. So, but thank you guys so much for having me, finally.
Welcome. Yes, I'm glad the stars aligned. I also forgot to say, I'm Himiko from Chainsaw Man, because I obsessively binged that show. And she's my favorite, of course. But hello, Cool Gamer, and hello, Cosplay Choco. Thank you for checking in. Happy to see you guys. I guess we'll start with, what was the last project you worked on? Like, what was some fun stuff that you were doing?
So, with Hallmat being the last con that I did, because a lot of people that follow me, and you guys know too, that Hawks is one of my favorites. I love doing Hawks. He and I are actually the same age, canonically.
That's cute.
And I feel like I kind of, and not right now, obviously, but I feel like kind of my con persona is kind of like the same attitude that he has. So I really like him as a character. And of course, the wings are fun. I think I've made 2 or 3 different sets of wings now, and I'm about to start on my 4th to try to find just the way that I want to make it. But I did a Christmas version of Hawks. I think I only posted 1 or 2 photos on my Instagram because unfortunately I didn't get a lot of photos at Hallmat. I had booked a photographer for me and my fiance. She did a Christmas Mirko, and she was as cute as she could be. And unfortunately, he had to cancel on us like a few days before the con. He couldn't go. And I didn't have the money at the time to book somebody else because he gave me a really good deal. But so that was my last one. I don't know. Can I share photos here, or could you guys have it if you want to share it? Or
yeah. So if you would like to, you can either go into the present, or if you want me to grab it, I can just pull up your Instagram.
yeah, sure. I don't think it's giving me the present option since I'm on mobile. So if you want to do
Okay,
that,
yeah.
let's see
Okay, well,
here.
let me pull this up, and then I will pull up your Instagram. Alrighty, so yeah, we got your the Christmas Hawks. Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I kind of one of my friends because I need to work on my wig a bit. Is my lovely fiance Solari Cosplay actually did that. She helped me really get started with this, and she's taught me so much. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for her. She's taught me so much in foam making and sewing and things like that. Honestly, I have her to thank for everything. I'm still learning. You know, she still knows a lot more than I do. But one of my friends, they saw the photo because I have a normal yellow visor type thing that I wear with my normal Hawks. But for Christmas Hawks, I found those really cool little halfway green Dumbledore looking glasses, and I thought, oh, this would be kind of cool for a twist. One of my friends saw the picture and said, "You kind of giving me David Bowie vibes right now." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, you're right. I can't look at it any other way now. I look like David Bowie with wings." But he was my latest project that I finished. He still needs a little tweaking to get where I want him. He was the most recent, and then Bowsette. I haven't posted any photos of her. She was more of a fun kind of try something new cosplay because it was only the second crossplay that I had done. And I pretty much Amazoned everything, or I 3D printed what I needed. And unfortunately, I only did get one photo of her, but I haven't posted it yet, just because I kind of want to tweak her and improve her a bit more before I showcase it more.
I think that's like the curse of a cosplayer is you spend like countless hours like gathering supplies, doing things, working on cosplay, and then you're like, oh wait, did I take any pictures?
I am the absolute worst about taking photos at conventions or taking progress photos. Believe me. I mean, if you look at my Instagram, you can go and see the dates. They're so sparse in between each other. And I am so bad about forgetting because usually I'm so busy at a con, or my fiance has all the photos on her phone. She takes a lot of selfies with people, and I usually forget. And I am so bad about that. I'm hoping to get better about that this year, but I'm not making any promises.
Me and Head in the Clouds, when we did Uwu, we had this conversation while we were sitting in Thermo's house getting ready. We were like, we are holding each other accountable. We have to take pictures of each other.
Nope. And we got I got a decent amount of pictures from, so I'm glad we held each other accountable for that.
Yeah,
Cosplay Choco says here, photos can be so hard to get sometimes. Thank goodness for iPhones now. Yeah. If you don't run into like a local photographer or something on the floor to capture your photo, or you're not pre-planned enough to schedule a photo shoot with people there, phone photos are just as a great way to really capture some selfies, but also some great photos. The cameras on those things are really great now, but yeah, it's definitely hard to remember to take those photos when your first priorities are like, are all my things still stuck to me? Where's my friends? All that other stuff. The last thing you're thinking about doing is taking a photo. So
I'm being called out right now.
I mean, that's exactly it. And like, I don't think people realize the power of our phones. I mean, we're starting to get there, but like, I'd say 50% of my favorite cosplay photos actually all come from my phone. My current Kirishima pictures with me up in that tree. Thank you, Perfection. Those photos were taken from my friend Perfection when we were just doing a hangout. Let's just go hang out and take pictures. It was just taken on my 21 Galaxy. Like, it was literally just my phone, and it looks incredible. I did a little tweaking on the lighting in like a free app, and now I use it for all of my promotional stuff because it's so pretty. But yeah, having a friend to maybe hold you accountable, or I think pre-scheduling is probably the best idea for photos, like making sure you're like, okay, so me and my friends are wearing this during this time. Let's take 10 minutes and do this. And I felt like we were very pressured at UWU to take pictures because it was my first time in person with you guys. So we were all like, let's take as many pictures as possible. So we did better than we usually do because Jinx was like, okay, we're going to schedule these photographers. And me and you were like, we're going to take pictures all day.
We're going to take pictures all day. Yeah. And that was,
yeah, no, I like, my goal is to try to make more things like that for conventions where it's like, okay, I know I'm wearing these costumes during these times. I'm going to try to reach out to a photographer sometime the next week or two for my competition piece. I might just give my girlfriend the please eyes and see if she'll do a photo shoot with me. But I really want to get my build taken pictures of, because I'm doing so good at taking whips. Like, I'm like you, Shadow. Like, it took me so long to beat it into my head to take those work in progress photos. I'm trying to hold myself accountable because for competitions, that's so important. You have to have that process built. So I'm trying really hard to take pictures as I go. And like, I've been using our Discord, actually, the Cost Talk Live Discord, as a way to like post my progress. Cause I'm like, well, if I'm sharing here and sharing with these people, I have the pictures that I could also post just directly into my Google Drive, so I know what I'm doing.
Right. And honestly, the way you mentioned that, especially about competition pieces, and that's honestly why I'm trying to get better about it this year, because my next project, we'll get into this in a bit. It's probably going to be my biggest yet. It's going to take me several months to do it, and as of right now, I'm not planning on debuting it until September. But of course it's going to have to be documented, everything for competition wise, because I want to have the best edge that I can. Right. Now granted, I kind of did that with Inuyasha. He was actually one of my first competition pieces, and I actually did win an award with him. I got a novice award for Inuyasha. Nice. But I documented quite a bit for him. My fiance, Solari Cosplay, she made her Kagome, and she helped me very, very much to get Inuyasha done because I was still very much a baby cosplayer, and I didn't know a lot of the techniques and things. I was just like, how do I make fabric work? So she helped me very much with him, and those photos actually, those are some of the very few professional photos that I have. They were taken by my wonderful friend Tammy Morosco of T. Morosco Photography. She's from the Gulf Coast area where I used to live, and she always would take very excellent photos. I mean, that was one of the things I was really sad about leaving where I was. It's because we would all kind of go to the same cons, and so I was like, oh, this is great. I can at least make sure that I have a few photos from every con that I go to. And well, here I am now, 9 hours away from where I was, and so I kind of got to reconnect with people, because I've actually only met maybe a couple of people where I'm at right now here in Texas. I'm still very much new to the area, and I've still got a lot of work to do. But I think with the con circuit, I'll be able to meet some more people that way, because the cons are pretty good here in Texas.
I've heard a lot.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, I've heard that a lot. Like a lot of people that I talk to and stuff just really rave about some of the cosplay like conventions down in Texas. So
it's a pretty strong game here. There are quite a lot of big cosplayers from here. Now I can't list their names off for you. I know of some of them. They're like, in the back of my head. And I don't know if you guys have this problem, but as a cosplayer, I'm absolutely terrible with names and faces. I recognize somebody by a costume. And if I see them in something different or out of a costume, they're just like, hey, I was like, hey, you Spider-Man finger point, I'm just like, I'm so bad about that. But people have done that to me too, because I remember I got together with some of my friends in Mississippi, and they had hardly ever seen me without a costume on, right? And they saw me and they looked at me and they go, oh, hey, it's you. And I was like, I don't think I've ever seen you out of a costume before. And I was like, this is either really good or really bad.
Yeah, cost blindness is a real thing.
Yeah. No, I've been there too. I like to be a chameleon. I do a lot of like male cosplays and I do a lot of female cosplays. And so like it wasn't until the last couple of years. I know this is a terribly toxic trait of mine and I'm working on it. But I cannot go into a convention space without a costume on. It is just something.
Same.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Thursday and the con's not actually started yet. I'm still there in cosplay, and it's something I was raised with. Like my parents were very much like costume driven, and so whenever we went to events together, we were dressed up, and so I was just really like. It was drilled into me that you cannot be in this space without the costume. And I'm really proud of myself because in 2022, I did PAX actually outside of a cosplay. I was dressed up, but I was myself because I was working. I did some work for Norse Foundry. And then at Pentacon, because I was staff, I was doing a lot of stuff out of cosplay. And I was changing out of costume like at the convention. And I was like, okay, I feel like I'm getting more comfortable with my own self. And it's hard to do. So like, you're not the only one, and like other people out there, if you're struggling with it, it's not just you.
That might be a great episode to talk about.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty good.
Writing it down.
Where I was like, put a pin in that.
Yeah.
But real quick, we do have some comments again from Cosplay Choco, one of our great and local, beautiful Arizona hosts here in Arizona, rotating hosts. I feel like I have to have an Excel sheet for my schedule, especially for KatsuCon coming up. It sounds like you're going to be pretty busy.
Yes.
That's actually
Sakura
pretty
says,
smart.
yes, I'll do photos for you. And Hope says, hi. But I do know that we had some topics specifically that we wanted you to have some insight on here, because I know nothing about the first one, really. I have a few items that are 3D printed. My first was when I did Aquaman. I got a Trident assembly kit, and that was the first time I'd ever worked with 3D printing. It was from a seller on Etsy. And I have a Pokeball and some other like really small 3D printed items, but I really don't know the process about that. So I'd like to hear more about that, especially since I know I have some friends locally who just got some too, so they could maybe learn as well.
Yeah, same. The only piece I've ever worked with 3D printing is a couple small pieces, like jewelry pieces. I did Pike last year from Critical Role, and we printed out my holy symbol. And then I did Deedlet's sword for the competition I did for SoccerCon in 2022, which was a miserable failure because I didn't follow the instructions to a T, and that was my fault. So, like, any advice for 3D printing would be wonderful.
So, in all honesty, I could probably sit here and talk for a whole series of episodes about 3D printing, just because it's that kind of a broad words. It's that broad of a topic.
I'm sure.
So there are multiple different types of material that you can use. Most of them are a plastic, essentially, like PLA, PETG. There's another one, ABS. I can't tell you what those mean, so you'll have to look them up on their own. I'm in no means an expert. But essentially, the base process goes: you find a model, and there are some great resources for this. Thingiverse.com is a very good website for finding models. Yeggi, YEGGI.com is essentially like a search engine for 3D print sites. You can type in something that you're looking for, and it'll pull it up across multiple sites. Like what was that travel service that used to always be on TV? Like you would type in like where you want to go, and it would like pull up multiple results. Kayak. It was called Kayak. It's essentially, it kind of works like that. It'll pull up all these different results across all these different websites for models and things that you're looking for. Once you find the model that you want, you have to download it, and you usually get it as an STL file or like a .obj, which is an object file. Those are your main two. You load it into a program called a slicer, which essentially what the slicer does is it takes the settings of your 3D printer and it puts it in like this big cube rectangular looking plane, and it plops it down and it says, this is what it's going to look like right now. Now you can go in there, you can resize it, you can just adjust the quality, you can play around with it a bit. And then when you slice it, I don't know why it's called slice. When you slice it, it generates it. What's up?
When you're looking at like the how it's going to print, I guess. Is that like a something you're able to kind of rotate around to see like the dimensions, or is it like a bird's eye view, or
the program that I use is called Ultimaker Cura, or just Cura in the 3D print world. It's a fully 3D movable, rotatable plane that you can look at. So you can see just how, and it'll tell you what the dimensions are. But keep in mind too, since we all here all are in the States, that since a lot of 3D printers will do this, a lot of software will be used in millimeter. So if you want to convert it to inches, just plug it in on Google. It can, but you have to have the millimeter measurements in the software to make it work right. Otherwise, it's going to be either ridiculously too big or like this big. And I've done that mistake before, so don't be me.
So I'm going to jump in. We have a couple comments. Yes, I need some 3D printing for jewelry, and then Cosplay Choco. I love using Blender for that, for the like editing process, I'm assuming. And then Rob, hello. Slicing Rob basically cuts the part into layers like a deck of cards. Since
right.
For people who are very, very new or have never seen a 3D print, it's kind of like layered plastic. And so that's where you're getting your shape, which is why the slicing is important.
And thank you, Rob, for that, because actually that does make a lot of sense. Because whenever you load it into the slicer software, you can actually move a slider up. It'll show you layer by layer how it makes, and you'll see it's just like you said. It's like cards stacked on top of cards, stacked on top of cards, until you finally get to the top. But in Blender is more actually for making and editing your models themselves, because there's actually two different file types you're going to be working with. In Blender is when you're going to make your STL or your object file. When you put it into Cura, when you slice it, it generates what's more commonly known as a G code. A G code essentially is a special file that's just a bunch of numbers. It has all the data in it, and then when you load it into your printer, it reads that data and it tells it where to print, how long it needs to print, which direction it needs to go, how much filament it needs to extract, all of that at once. Mm-hmm. And then when you watch it, it just moves. It's just so cool to watch it go back and forth. I think my cats have sat there for quite some time watching it go back and forth. And I have the spray bottle at the ready. I'm like, don't you touch it. Don't you touch it. If you move it, it'll mess it up. But in all honesty, I'm still learning Blender. I know very, very, very little about actually making my own models. All the stuff that I printed, I've pulled from Thingiverse or found from different sites through Yegi, and I've resized in Cura to get to the size, like my Bowsette crown and my horns. The crown I actually found on Thingiverse, and I resized it to be proportionate to my head. The horns actually were made by a friend of mine of a little north of me, or no, a little east of me. They made those and they sent them to me because they were also doing a Bowser cosplay, and they said, "Yeah, sure, here, you can have my file." So I just resized them and made them what the size that I need, so they'd be proportionate to my head, and then I printed those. And then a lot of the other stuff I printed.
Really quick, just another question. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when you get a file, you have pretty much like complete control over kind of switching it to your specifications. So you can you said you can resize things. Can you edit that file again, or is it kind of like a locked file?
STLs you can edit. Excuse me. STLs you can edit. You'll have to throw those back into Blender to kind of work with them. Again, I know very little about that. I'm still learning. I have friends that know Blender more than I do that have been helping me with the few things that I need here and there. So I guess I'll go ahead and say this. My next big project that I'm going to be working on, and I know Chibi and I have talked about this, it's going to be Asgore from Undertale. For those of you that know Undertale. And he's going to be a very, very, very big and complicated build. I'm talking full Warbler armor, fiber optics in the cape. I'm working on the prosthetic for my face and everything. And the trident, I actually found a model for. Somebody had made a Source Filmmaker model for it, for those of you who remember the Gary's Mod TFT days.
Oh my god, that's so cool.
Somebody on DeviantArt several years ago, forgive me, I cannot remember the artist's name. When I post more about it, I'll credit the artist. They made a model in SFM, and I actually dug through their DeviantArt archives and found where they had released all of their SFM models as proper 3D files. So I took Asgore's Trident and I turned it into an STL, and so now I've got it to where I can size it and slice it to what I need it to be. But the problem is, it's actually about this big the way it is right now.
Oh.
I'm 6 feet tall, and Asgore is going to be big because I'm going to have a muscle suit on and everything else underneath it to make it look proportionate. So I'm going to have to take it and measure it and probably divide it up into sections and basically stick it together to make the staff and then the trident part. So what I need, I'm going to have to get one of my friends to help me with this unless I can figure it out. Because what I'm doing with Arduino, I'm going to take LEDs and code them to where when I turn them on, it shoots up like a lightsaber turns on. Ooh. And then once it's on, it's going to kind of have like this flame flickering effect to it because Asgore uses fire magic. Mm-hmm. And so I can walk around. The trident's going to be made out of a transparent red filament. I just got it in the mail the other day. I'm so excited to try it. That but the awesome. the light will shine through it, so it'll make it look it's glowing from the inside. So I have to have a friend of mine. Stoked. I have to have a friend of mine basically help me slice a hole down the middle of the staff and then through the tines where I can actually run the LEDs and stick them in and then run the wiring through and all that. So I may be able to figure it out myself since it's fairly simple. I think that should be fairly simple, but again,
sounds a little arduous.
I mean, I think this is really cool because this is what cosplay is becoming. Because I know 3D printing was meant for like medical purposes when it first started coming out, but like now we've shaped it into our own thing, and it's very cool because either A, you can find what you're looking for and alter it, like what you're doing. You found a model that you like, and it just needs some alteration, and that's a good place to start with any form of cosplay. Learning how to sew, learning how to do foam craft, like having a base to work off of and learn your skills is a really good way to go. I use actually Dangerous Ladies is my favorite 3D printer service that I go through. You can find them on Etsy. Also looking up Etsy artists who are willing to sell their print models. And then I'm going to jump into, we have some comments here. So Robert said, nice explanation. And that was a while ago. I think it was about the slicing. And so, hi, Thermo. You're supposed to be relaxing. Thermo says, I've started using my 3D printer and that G-code threw me off. Lol, I'm an old school 3D model student here, and so things have changed a lot. I discovered that your own skin oil may affect your printing bed. Aspirol alcohol works to clean them off. Thank you, Nova Ruin. Thank you, Nova Ruin. You're awesome for that cosplay tip. Tinkercad, Blender, FreeCAD, Mesh Mixer, 3D Slash, Sculpt GL, and Mesh Lab are all free editors you can use to manage your STL file and changes. And then Rob's like, translucent filament are fun to work with. And Thermo's also going, oh my God, that's so cool. Ooh, that's so cool.
Oh, you know what, Thermo, I might actually be getting with you. I may get with you soon with some help with it if you'd be willing to help me. Just because I'm still learning this, and right now, actually, I just saw their comment about the Arduino. That's what I'm struggling a lot with right now. Actually, I'm trying to get my coding done because for those of you that don't know, Arduino, they make these little teeny tiny boards like Here's my AirPod case. One of their Arduino Nanos is it's a little longer than this, but it's about maybe half the width of maybe 3/4 the width of this. It's so small. It's a microprocessor. They make a bigger one that's about that big, about the size of a Raspberry Pi. Those of you that know what they are. So I'm trying to put my code into the board because Arduino functions off of coding. If we have any, tech geeks in the audience today, but it works very similar to you have to have, if this is this, then this, and so I'm trying to get it all worked out right to make it work, and that's the part that I'm really struggling with. I think I'm getting close. I'm going to try to work on it some more today and tomorrow while I'm off, and figure it out. But
I can't wait to see the progress on that. Actually, the workshop that I work through in my area when I first started going there, my teacher was doing workshop stuff and working with Adrenos and like teaching me some of that beginning process. And I never picked it up because I was just like, I'm not smart. Coding is not my forte. And now here I am, just about 5 or 6 years later, and I'm finally dabbling in lighting. I'm not going that far yet, but my next project that I'm working on actually does have a glowing scepter, and so I'm creating a staff piece with some lights in it to give it the lighting effect.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. It's going to be super fun. It's my first time doing any form of lighting, and this is like the first step because I really want to learn how to do some of that stuff and get into lighting for some of my other larger projects. So it's really cool. And like, again, this is just, cosplayers blow my mind because we get into coding and sewing and leathersmithing and foam working and 3D printing. Like, we are the mastermind that can take on all crafts because
it's really
that is
true.
just incredible.
Like a cosplay almost is like, it's a way for you to do your own thing with your own stamp because there's so many. Oh, looks like we might have lost Lena. I'm sure she'll be back. Where you can kind of, put what you have, your own crafts in your real world and apply it to your costuming. And that's what can make everyone's costumes like a snowflake. So completely different, even though you've maybe seen the character done before, they crochet. So they crochet their entire costume and it's completely different, and I think that's what's such a cool thing about the cosplay world. And 3D printing is just another one of those really great tools. Probably a super important feature going forward in the future of cosplay. I think it's only going to get bigger.
It's an interesting process because, like, as a judge, I've had to judge people's 3D prints before, and it's created both like this really great new building source and then also this, well, how do we judge this piece? How much work went into it? And so it's been a really interesting, that's where I first actually started really getting into like 3D printing, because the first time I saw a prop that was 3D printed, I was like, what is this? What do you mean you just made plastic into this shape? But then you have to start asking, did you model it yourself? If no, then how much alterations did you do to it? Did you change the coating at all? Did you finish it at all? What kind of finishing did you do? Did you polish it down? Did you add resin? What kind of paints did you use? And so it becomes this whole new process. I personally start judging them kind of like an EVA prop. Unless, like, I'll usually ask, hey, did you code it yourself or where did you get it from? And then from there, I will use that as like, okay, well then how finished does it look? What kind of finishing did they do? And then use that as my main base, because as somebody who's 3D printed props, I cannot make the coding, but like, I appreciate how much processing goes into still finishing that prop, because it comes out kind of bumpy and lumpy, and you got to do a lot to make it look like a really nice, clean prop.
Finishing touches are important for sure.
And that's that's going to be an episode later on.
Shadow, I was going to ask, it looks like you might be outside, but I'm curious if you have anything, like anything nearby that you've printed that you can show us.
Honestly, I don't.
That's okay.
I'll tell you what though. I think I have.
Or if you have pictures, yeah.
All right. So some of the other comments we have is, awesome. So Thermo says, this is a great instructable for flickering flame effect in Arduinos. And so Thermo shared that on Facebook, but let me just see if I can share that.
And I think that's what he was talking about, was making his trident kind of flicker like that, right? So that might be great for him.
So here we go. I'm going to show, this is Thermo's thing, put up an Instructables for realistic flames. If anyone is interested, you can grab that link and go check it out. Sam's also our wonderful coding geek here with cybersecurity. And then they continue on saying 3D printing is hard. It gets to get smooth and clean. I essentially think of it as a bot file, like a bot pattern. And that's kind of what it is. Like, there's so much more going into it now that you have to do, especially for like, when I was doing DLIT, when I 3D printed it, I feel like I should have done better research, or I should have given myself more time to finish it, because I printed it out, I put it all together, and one, I didn't use the correct kind of glues. It ended up breaking a couple of times at con, and that was great stress.
Heartbreaking and it's stressful.
Exactly. And there's so much more finishing that I had to learn how to do that I didn't actually put into like the equation of my time to finish this costume. So I felt like my sword was very lackluster compared to the rest of my costume because I didn't know what I was doing. And you should always take this in to any account if you're learning a new technique or something that you need to put a couple of extra hours in. Like right now on the costume piece that I'm working on, I'm learning how to do like vinyl. And so I'm learning how to make my own shapes and stuff that I can print out using a Cricut. And I know how to do like the finishing process of a Cricut. Like I've done the printing and then like the cutting and then the ironing and all that. But putting in the official like the original drawings or the original like the first picture I did, I actually took pictures off the internet and I stacked them together to make this like nice shape that I wanted. And it was a really good way to start, especially because I have no idea how to use any kind of digital drawing form. But now I'm realizing I need to put like probably another 10 hours into learning how to just like draw digitally so I can get my anywhere near the shapes or looks I want for these what eventually will be my vinyls. Because it's been really fun learning, but it's taking so much time. And I've already like it took me almost 2 hours just to do this like teeny tiny detail that's going to be on my shoe. And I'm like, alrighty, we're just gonna...
But you know it's there and it's important.
Yeah, no, I know it's there and that's what I want to do. And that's why I'm putting this much energy into it. But like, I feel like it's just one of those things that like now I'm going to add quite a few more hours into this process of learning how to draw. And I'm just using a super simple, like free formatter to like put this all together. But it's been interesting to learn. And I feel like it's the same kind of concept of like 3D printing. Like you have to learn all of these like little basic things that you don't think about to get this like finished product. Because I'm like, oh, vinyl, that's super easy. I just have to put it into the Cricut and it cuts it out for me. And now I'm sitting here going, oh God, I have to learn how to draw this piece and I have to figure out how to get this angle right. And I have to do all these like this math that I wasn't expecting to have to do.
Yeah. As with any sort of, hobby-ish thing, you have to perfect your craft, which takes time on its own. Especially for when you're displaying it or wearing it or, like you said, things break on us at con. It's important to either have something there to fix it or know going into it that you want to reinforce it. And that's stuff you just learn along the way. But sorry to put you on the spot there, Shadowclaw. I didn't want to make you like go run and get stuff. But
no. I sent Chibi a couple of photos to the Discord.
Okay.
If you want to show those are my Albert staff that I made from the Owl House. One of them is right after I finished painting it, and it came off the printer, and I painted it. That was before it was sealed and everything. And then the next one is after I had sealed it and put it on the staff and everything. That's what the finished product looked like. It actually, I didn't sand that at all. One, because I was kind of pressed for time because I didn't realize how many coats of paint it would take. But two, also, after I started painting it, I realized that the lines from the print actually kind of made it look like wood. And so I kind of left it. I was like, this actually kind of looks cool. I'll just leave it how it is. But I do agree that sanding and finishing your pieces, that's something I'm still learning. Because the very first thing that I really tried to do from start to finish, I actually 3D printed a katana. It was for my Inuyasha cosplays. I didn't want to bring my big Tetsaiga with me. I wanted something smaller, so I made a smaller untransformed version. And I kind of got it smooth. I need more practice with it, honestly. I need to kind of perfect the technique with it. I need to get some more stuff to actually do it. But there's a lot I still have to learn about it because, obviously I don't know how the Trident's going to print out, but I'm going to have to get it smooth, or at least to where I can get it, to where the way I want it. And especially because it's going to be big, because I'm planning on it being at least 6 feet tall. From like top point to like very bottom. And then I got to figure out how to attach it all together and reinforce it because it's going to be massive and it's going to have wires running in it. I'm planning on, I think, because he usually holds it right around the top, like kind of near the base of the heads. I'm thinking about having some wires come out of there and like run down my sleeve and have the power like hidden on me somewhere. Just so that way I don't have this big block of just like no light in the prop,
Yeah, that was something I had to start drawing out. I ended up brainstorming with my partner because I'm like, well, how do I hide the light pack? It's the piece that I'm making is this really dainty wand with this like star on the top, and so I'm just like, well, where does this power pack go with all my lighting in it? And so it's something you have to keep in mind. And also, I think one of the things that's going to be your biggest struggle is how to break it apart so it can travel, at least in maybe 2 pieces, so you can drive with it or just shove it in your car however it fits. Like that's another thing. Like I'm actually going to be doing more than likely going to be doing Inuyasha at SakuraCon. Yes, big fan of Inuyasha. And I've decided to forego the prop this time because I'm putting a lot of energy into my competition build, and I just don't want to bring that sword. Like I might bring like a small version of the Tenseiga where it's nice in its sheath, but like I honestly am like I don't want to travel with that. It's going to take up so much room. It's going to be hard to like get it in the car. I'm just taking a step back because I know that prop's going to be way too big to play around with.
I can totally relate because before I got my current car, I have a Chevy Tahoe with a third row in the back, so I can take the third row out and have plenty of room to put stuff.
Oh, lucky.
Now, granted, the Tenseiga is 6 feet tall too. It's as big as me. So, like, if I was to hold it right, there's a picture of me on my Instagram somewhere where I'm standing in front of a background and I'm holding it like kind of to the side, and it's almost as tall as me. I want to say it's like 5'5" or something near 6 feet tall. I can't remember. But when we used to travel to cons, we would take her car, and she has a Toyota Highlander, and it's much smaller than the full-size SUV. So sometimes we'd be driving, and I'm sitting here, like the handle of my Tenseiga is jutting out in between us over the console, and our poor friend is in the back, and he's just like surrounded by stuff, and he's just it was. Con Tetris is an amazing thing, as everybody knows.
I don't know how many cons I've driven with like a wig head in my lap. Like just
I haven't done that yet.
Alrighty,
I was gonna say I've had that since I do and have cosplayed Aquaman, and building that trident. I really regret not building it to break down, and that was one of the issues I learned. Is I used a PVC pipe and then attached, the 3D printed models on top of it without realizing it's taller than me. Let me see if I can screen share because I did find some pictures on my Insta here real quick.
That's how my Tenseiga is made. It's not 3D printed. It's got a big old piece of PVC down the middle of it right before, and it ends right before the curve, but it's sandwiched in between about 40 millimeters of foam. It's like there's 4 layers of 10 mil there, and oh wow, that thing is huge.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
It's taller than I am. I think it's like 6'2". It's currently with like a bunch. This was a picture for the PFF where I debuted the costume, but it's really tall. It's taller than this dresser you can see here. Taller than my Gambit staff by almost like a whole head of the trident. And I didn't break it down. So taking that in a car filled with other people, didn't plan for that. And
fun adventure.
I'm planning on having a
carry it around all day. So having a breakdown, definitely have a breakdown in your head.
I'm planning on having a way to disassemble it at least into 2 or 3 pieces, like have quick releases on some of the wires and have maybe like PVC twisty joints in some of the middle parts of it or something. But I'll have to wait till I can get with whoever's going to help me with Blender to kind of help me put those
right, to add those
pieces in there. But that's later on once I get to that point. So.
Yeah, so I think I want to segue a little bit because honestly, some of the most interesting conversations I've had with you, and this is something that I, as a cross player, have never it was always just very natural for me to drift towards the male characters, and it wasn't until the last couple of years I really started picking up female characters. And I don't see a whole lot of the reverse, though. I don't see a whole lot of Keehims getting into cosplaying female characters, and I feel like there's such a stigma around it, but I like to see a lot more people do these things and get comfortable with themselves, because honestly a lot of my who I am as a person has been shaped by my cosplay journey without my realization. So I always think it's a really fascinating topic to cover if you're comfortable talking about some of that. Because I've seen some of your crossplays, and honestly, your Raymond just gives me life. Like, I love your Raymond.
Real quick, just for clarification, for my part, because I do a lot of gender bends, which is bending the character to, fit your sex. So when you're saying crossplay, you do the full-on, like, female presentation?
Yes.
Awesome.
Now, Raymond actually was not a crossplay.
Technically, yeah, he's a male character in a maid dress.
Well,
But...
yeah, but I mean, I didn't have any shapewear or anything with him. He was pretty comfortable. I didn't have to wear a corset or anything. I had a bodysuit on for his gray skin, and then I just did the maid dress on, all my little, accessories and whatnot. He was a lot of fun. But by the end of the day, the heels were killing me, so I had to change into my tennis shoes. But he was a lot of fun. He was much more laid back. My first ever crossplay I did was Haru from The Cat Returns, the Studio Ghibli movie. I did her ball gown. I actually found it. I found that actually on one of my buy-sell trade groups. And if you're looking for it, it's in the same post as Raymond.
Okay. Sorry, I'm digging for it now because I love that picture.
It's that was the very first one that I did. That was the first gown cosplay that I ever did. It just felt like it was a lot of fun because, in all honesty, it's not even my favorite Ghibli movie. Spirited Away is, but honestly, I don't know why I went through with it. Something just kind of felt like, this would be fun. I did it because I wanted to be big and bold, kind of. And unfortunately, the con I was at PAX South. Not a lot of people knew who I was. A few people did because they recognized the outfit. I've only worn her one other time. One other time. I wore her to Comic-Con in Birmingham, which is actually one of our favorite cons to go to. It'll be next month, but unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to go this year because of having to pay for the extra gas and a longer hotel than normal. Mm-hmm. It's going to be more of a financial burden than we can take right now. So I've only worn her twice. It's a lot of fun. She's big, and part of it's heavy, but I love doing it. I just feel like I feel like it's big and it's bold, and I feel like a lot of fun doing it, even if I'm a little nervous.
Understandably, because the world can be unapologetic about how they perceive what you're doing. Unfortunately, sometimes I get that when I do gender bends. I've never crossed-played. I've thought about it. But it's that hesitation and anxiety that has stopped, me from having more fun. So
honestly, as a hardcore Ghibli fan, like, I love that you did one of the older stuff because honestly, even if people don't recognize you that much, like the people who do catch you are like, oh my god, I just love this. Because honestly, I think you're one of the only people I've ever seen cosplay from that particular movie. So yeah, just like it makes me so happy to see that you actually like went and did this because it's so pretty too. Like it looks amazing.
I didn't make it. Just to clarify, I actually purchased it from another. I found it in one of my plus size cosplay groups because that's kind of something.
But you still did like the face pieces and stuff. Like there's still, even if you didn't make it, like there's still a lot that you put into it, and it's obvious how much you did.
Yes, I did have it tailored a little bit to kind of fit me. The bodice, the skirts were fine. One of my friends who's a seamstress helped me get the bodice to fit me right. She helped me make the collar. I didn't have it on in that photo. I have a big Elizabethan collar that I want to add more layers to. The prosthetic, I added the wig and everything I did. The ears, I added. The paws, I added. The makeup, actually, my fiance did because I was still very much learning makeup at the time. So she helped me do a lot of that. I looked at her and I said, just make it so I'm unrecognizable. Because we were at a hotel and we went outside. And we were in San Antonio at the time, and I'm standing on the street corner waiting for our Uber to come. And every person that looked at me and said, "Oh, where are you guys going to?" And I said, "Or what are you supposed to be dressed as?" I thought, I lost a bet or something like that. It was like football season or something, and we were in a very big Texas city, so I didn't want to this was the first time I'd done it. Bowsette was the second time. I've only worn her once. Because, well, here, actually, if you want, I will show.
Intermission. Let's do more comments.
Dun, dun,
Okay,
dun,
so
dun.
we were yelling at Thermo to go get some rest. So
I guess
bad Thermo, you're supposed to be relaxing. Don't make me pull the dad card. Thank you, Robert. Thermos runs away to play video games. See y'all after Emerald City Comic Con. Yes, Sam's going to be taking a little hiatus for personal reasons, and so you'll see a lot of me and Jinx, but she's doing great. They're just doing some self-care like we've been trying to get them to do for so long. And then Rob says, try XTC 3D by Smooth On. And I think that's for 3D finishing. And then Hope goes, yes, gender bend. So,
I just sent that photo to you, Chibi.
So.
Yes, I will pull it up.
Honestly, it's a lot of fun because I don't identify as genderqueer, anything like that, or bi, or I don't identify as a female, but I just feel like it's fun to be able to change the norm and kind of be. I feel like I can be myself at cons, honestly, and just kind of be more out there and be much more extroverted because I'm around people who are kind of similar. And but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of it's scary at first, and sometimes I still do get scared just walking around like that, but at the same time it's a lot of fun because I get to be someone that I'm not, and it's different, and it's better than just normal everyday life.
I just want to take a second to say real quick, as someone who is part of the LGBT ABC mafia, I appreciate that you, as someone who doesn't identify as anything in there, maybe besides, an ally or, whatever you want to call it, that you are okay breaking those bounds and have, you're secure enough in yourself to just see it as fun as a costume, and not necessarily it's performative, and that's a part of why we do what we do. Like you said, I'm a little more introverted as a person, but at a con in a costume, it kind of helps bring out some of those more personality, bold traits. I think in a lot of us. So sorry to interrupt you there, but I did want to say I appreciate that. Someone who isn't necessarily part of the community finds fun and art in it, and has taken it for themselves, and I think that's really awesome.
My fiance actually is she identifies as bi, and when she announced that, I took a lot of flack from my family because they come from a very much down south, very traditional type family. And, and that's what I grew up in. But, I've learned to be more open-minded. I've been around people from all different walks of life. And, I don't see any problem with it. Just let people be people. As long as they're not hurting anybody, there's no harm in it. And, I support her, and I try to always be there for her. And, granted, I'm not the most knowledgeable in this kind of stuff because I'm not an extra part of that community. But, I still try to be there for them for these types of things.
And I think honestly, that's the best support you can do is just be there and be respectful. And like the fact that you're just like taking this and really being yourself and just having fun with it, like that's where it started for me. I never really thought too hard about the fact that I cosplayed a bunch of guy characters until a handful of years ago when I started going, oh, I'm gender fluid. And it kind of just clicked one day when I was just like, oh, wait, this makes a lot more sense now that I'm thinking about it. But like as somebody who's there, knowing that there's other allies and knowing that there are people that are taking this and like making their own form of arts from it, like it makes me happy. I love seeing it. And honestly, I like seeing more males in the cosplay community because it's a very female centric thing. And I don't think we think about it that way, but it really is. There's a lot more female energy within the cosplay community, and it might just because of the makeup and sewing, but like I'm so happy to see more men getting into it and joining us and bringing their own expertise and bringing their own styles and having fun with it just as much as we are. Because honestly, I think of all of the guests we've had like maybe like 5 or 6 guys. We're on episode 117. So wow. 90, most of our guests are, which is why I wanted to talk to you about other things, but like one one of the major reasons I was really interested in having you on was like, yes, another male cosplayer who wants to be here and present in the community, and I want to see more of this, and I want to encourage it, because I just don't think that you guys get that much encouragement to be in the community. And I want people to see that anybody can be here from any walk of life, from any place in the world, and still be part of the community.
Yeah, age, gender, all of that doesn't really matter as long as you enjoy doing it, you know. But I agree, the con scene is definitely like 80% female, 20%, you know, male presenting, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, absolutely, it's great to see, you know, another fellow male cosplayer on the show.
I do appreciate that, and honestly, kind of what you're talking about, because you mentioned earlier when we first started talking about crossplay and stuff, especially with if a guy cosplays a female. I do believe, and I'm going to tread very, very lightly here because I know this topic is very, you know, sensitive. I do believe there are some stigmas in the cosplay community, especially nowadays. I do believe that it's not looked at the same if someone who identifies as female cosplays as a male character versus if someone who identifies as male cosplays as a female character. Oh, hold on a second. Hello. Yeah, I'm almost done. Okay. But sorry,
hello, person behind the door.
Question.
Is my hello.
That was my lovely fiance. She was asking me a question. I believe there is a couple of stigmas. I believe that guys are looked at differently for doing it versus if ladies doing it. And also, I do believe that, and I have no proof of this, I've just seen what the algorithms have shown, that females or people who identify as females in the community usually have more of a presence and are able to reach a larger audience than guys are. Like, for example, I'm one of the admins of a very, very large cosplay group on Facebook, The Art of Cosplay, if you guys have ever heard of it. It has about 28,000 people in it. And we have people even as big as Night Mage cosplay in there. You know, I'm sure you guys know him. He does a lot of cool stuff. He posts stuff in there, or like I post stuff in there. Other guys post stuff in there. Traffic's okay. People who are known well more get more traffic. But as soon as somebody, and I'm trying to say this as delicately as I can, if somebody else were to post something else in there that was either more, you know, more skin showing or more, you know, if a female posts something not even like that, the traffic immediately shoots up.
No, this is something I see a lot too. And it's unfortunately, it's a very prevalent thing in the community, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of it, because I even feel this a lot. So when I cosplay my female characters and post, I get a million more likes. My Holo is one of my most popular cosplays, even though I've done her a lot because she's my favorite, but like, if I post her versus like posting Rom from Show by Rock or Haru from Free, the likes and the attention my Holo gets versus my male cosplays is so much higher than any of my male costumes. And like my last TikTok, I think, was about Rugi, to my Twist Wonderland. I'm assuming that I'm not going to get a whole lot of likes or views on that. I'm about to post Himiko from Chainsaw Man, and yes, it is popular right now.
I need to watch
it. It's so good. It's I binged it and I hurt so hard. But like, I'm expecting this cosplay to get way more likes than anything I posted recently, just because it's a female character from a popular series. And there's actually another comment down here from Sakura. Me and Sakura do a lot of male cosplays, so I know that she feels the same way. And I feel ya. I mostly cosplay guys, and I experience less interactions with my male characters. I've done a few girls, and they get way more traction, and it's frustrating. So yeah, what you're saying is completely real, and I want to make sure people are aware of it because it exists.
And I get the flip of that. My male, like if I do Aquaman or Gambit or Wreck-It Ralph or, you know, whatever, my male presenting posts. But if I do post, you know, my Poison Ivy or my Sakura, which or Starfire or something, which I did while we were talking, You know, you get rude comments, you get less interactions, things like that. But, you know, those are some of my favorite characters to wear, so, you know, to read or have any sort of, you know, fun or memorabilia, any type of stuff with. So, you know, while I get more enjoyment out of those characters than I do some of my male characters, and that's just, you know, something I grew up with. I've always been more attracted to the female characters in the story for whatever reason. They tend to be my favorites. So, yeah, I definitely can agree with the other side of that, where, you know, the people that are viewing you don't, especially if you do have a large fan base and you do decide to suddenly post a crossplay or something like that, you'll see your numbers drop, unfortunately, because either one, it's not respected, it's not what they want to see, or they don't understand or, you know, believe in that type of portrayal, I guess I should say. So
unfortunately, that's just part of the gatekeeping in the community. It's become such a big problem nowadays, because you know, I myself am a plus size cosplayer. You know, I may not look it to some. Granted, a lot of my cosplays are baggy. Like my kimonos for my Inuyasha characters are baggy. You know, I wear a lot of armor, that kind of thing. I may not look it, but at the same time, you know, I may be looked at differently versus some guy who is like got a 6-pack and like, you know, Thor's body, you know, so to speak. And so, but honestly, I could go on a whole day about that. Honestly, Chibi, if you want, I know we're kind of coming up to the end here.
Yeah.
If you want, I would be more than happy to come back. We can continue this conversation.
I think we would love to have you back, to be perfectly honest, because this is such an important conversation, which is why we put it in our title, because I really did want to cover even a little bit of this, because we don't get a whole lot of conversation with the other side, because our 3 main hosts on the show are all female presenting, though on the spectrum of some place, and we do get a lot of traction from doing our female cosplays, and so we know a little bit of it, but I would love to hear your guys's like input upon this topic, because I know how prevalent this is. And I hate to say it, but cosplay has become a beauty pageant in many ways over the last couple of years, especially with the introduction of social media and TikTok. Because for a lot of us who started in the old school days, I started cosplaying in 2009 and got serious in 2013. So it was pretty much right before like Facebook had just gotten popular, to put that into perspective. And so there wasn't a lot of like a social media presence. Our cosplay was just in conventions.
Right.
Our main focus was meeting people and being in person, and then using Facebook as a supplement to chat and make plans for future events. It wasn't until just a little bit before the pandemic, when we see the sudden boost where cosplay is getting super popular on social media and it's becoming kind of a beauty thing. And honestly, a little heartbreaking for me. I've done a lot of, I would like to think, some decent stuff within the community, and I work really hard. But I feel like sometimes, because my numbers on social media are so low, a lot of people brush me off as a cosplayer who's not worth asking to do judging and stuff, when it's like, I'm terrible at social media. I'm terrible at being online. The only time I'm good at it is Discord, and that's because I spent countless hours learning how to run it. That was me actually studying and learning how to use the new system to get good at it. But outside of that, I'm not very good at social media, and I'm very open and vocal about that. Because I honestly still believe that cosplay is an in-person activity at heart. It's about meeting each other at conventions. It's about running panels. I do a lot of content. I've been making cosplays for over 10 years, so I have quite a bit of experience in all kinds of spectrums. And so a lot of times it was a very interesting place to be at when you're a judge or a guest at a convention, and you have the more experience and you've been there the longest, and then you have this younger new cosplayer who has 2 million like fans on their page, and so they're getting a lot of attention over at their booth because they're known socially, though you can look at their craft and you're like, oh, they still have a couple more years of learning. They have some finishing to learn how to do. They're still working, and like, I'm not saying that they're a bad cosplayer. I'm just saying that it's definitely the views that are now skewing the cosplay community in a different direction. Because pre-pandemic,
that's what conventions look for when they're like booking guests, is their following. They want the following to follow them there.
You were talking about that for Hallmat, actually.
Like, yeah, I was just
I know we're
thinking
going on for a little over, but I would like to at least wrap up this conversation. So if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about Hallmat, because before we started streaming, you were mentioning this.
Well, because like I said, I will say this: I don't follow a lot of big name cosplayers or like a lot of the mainstream people on my social media. Just because, I mean, yeah, they're popular. Yeah, they do some good stuff, and I do follow a couple of them that I've either gotten instructions from or patterns or things like that. Because a lot of them put some really good resources out there, but a lot of them nowadays just are popular for either they've done certain trends or they've done certain characters or they've done certain looks of certain characters, which I know is kind of vague, but to be honest, a lot of us now are at the mercy of the algorithm. And if someone who works social media and marketing full time, I feel like I can speak to this professionally.
You know a lot about it.
I do. I deal with it day in, day out. I have college education in it, and a lot of it is dependent on that. And unfortunately, some people have more of an edge than others. But I do believe that when everything was closed during the pandemic, a lot of people jumped on the bandwagon because TikTok blew up, cosplay TikTok blew up. I feel like a lot of people who had never been in the community before jumped in on it. And don't get me wrong, I want the community to grow. I want more people involved in this hobby. But at the same time, I feel like these people joined the community not knowing, the proper etiquette, the proper, and I'm not trying to gatekeep. Like, please don't anybody think I'm trying to gatekeep. But like, there's so many people out there that don't know, like, cosplay is not consent. They don't know all the rules and stuff, or they just throw something simple on, like, and this is gonna sound very like some of these people that'll do cosplays of just throw something skimpy on in a wig and they get like 2 million views, or 2 million likes, something like that. And I'm not here to gatekeep cosplay, but I feel like a lot of the algorithms are tailoring away from people who are putting a lot of work into their outfits. It's like I know a lot of people who do really big stuff, and they've been popular, and then they post stuff, and their interaction is just down, like out of nowhere. It's completely flipped on its head, And Hallmat, I think, was an example of that. I didn't see a lot of really big, huge cosplay builds at Hallmat. I saw some, and then I saw some cosplayers that I followed on social media that do a lot of cool stuff. I wanted to get pictures with them. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch them in time. And those people do amazing work too. And a lot of people are there to see them, and they go to see them, and and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, conventions need to maintain their focus on not just pulling people because of likes or social media or because of how big their presence is. A lot of them. That's really what Hallmat did. They had some good guests there, and they had some really cool cosplays on display, like a museum type thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that was an example of a lot of them pulling guests based on social media presence. And I'm not to discredit anybody there, because again, I know a lot of this can be seen as a double standard. But I'm just fearful of what it will become in the future if this keeps up.
And I think we're all kind of sitting in this place, especially as a like us crafters, that for us the entire cosplay community is based around building. Our place in the cosplay community, where our happiness comes from, is building, and building just doesn't get likes, not as much at least, which is okay, but like also it's kind of this double standard that's being built up within the cosplay community. And for me, it was really interesting because I didn't go to Hallmat, but I got to see a lot of Hallmat. I watched a lot of cosplayers. There's actually a local cosplayer from my area who went to Hallmat. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to follow her because I'm really proud of her and she got into the cosplay contest. But like, I just started recognizing all these big names, and that's all it felt like to me. It was a lot of just big name cosplayers, which, I mean, yeah, that's cool because it would be cool to have a guest like that. But it's very interesting to hear the perspective of somebody who was there, that it felt like that, even not online.
I think part of the when you and Jinx originally started cosplaying, because you two are
the two of us have been in the longest.
Been around a lot longer in the community. you couldn't go online and just buy a cosplay a lot of the time.
Oh God, yes. And granted, like, don't get me wrong, I am so happy I can just go anywhere and buy any cosplay I want. I am so
absolutely.
excited. I'm gonna go buy my Inuyasha cosplay because I don't have time to build it. Like,
exactly.
I am so stoked that this is something that has come out of this big boom in cosplay, but also it breaks my heart a little bit to see that a lot of cosplayers that deserve the attention and deserve how hard they work are not getting their proper respect, because there are so many amazing cosplayers that do amazing tutorials and do amazing stuff for the community. And I feel like need to come up in the community. So I'm just going to say, let's leave the conversation kind of here. And if people are interested, I would love to have this conversation again and have Shadowclaw on to talk more about this, because I think this is a big concern for a lot of us. And I'm going to go through a couple of the comments here, because Hopeless Knight was saying, because I usually do gender bent cosplay, I usually get more likes on my gender bent ones than my female ones, and I hate the algorithm. Absolutely. Yeah, no, for a little while there, I tried to learn how to do the algorithm, but
the algorithm
it changes so often.
It does you don't do the algorithm.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, for Instagram, I did it for a little bit and I was able to like really bump my likes, but it took about a month, and then the algorithm changed and I had to completely reset and learn how to do what the new algorithm was. And it's honestly not worth the amount of time it takes to put it to put in the time to get it done. And so Hopeless Knight also continues with, I want cons to pull people who have won a lot of conventions, no matter how many followers they have. And I think that's like, a lot of us agree that we want to see cosplayers that you can see how much work and how much effort they put into their builds and stuff, especially if they're a competition guest or if they're a judging guest. We want to see cosplayers who have that experience to really give a good judging of a costume and not a biased opinion.
Right.
And just not that people with huge followings don't have that, but I have seen a lot of followings with newer cosplayers that just don't have the years of experience to put into the information that they have. Because, like, as somebody who's been building for years and have been dabbling in everything, I feel like I have a semi-decent experience level, but that's because I have 10 years of experience plus some to go into my judging, and I know what I'm looking for. And then we have this other person commenting, do they feel like they're just being a jerk though?
Yeah, they need a quick block or something. Anyways,
yeah, I'm not gonna comment. But yeah, thank you so much for being on with us. We're gonna wrap this up, and I really thank you for all of these heavy topics. And I was actually mentioning before we started streaming that I don't feel like a lot of people jump into these heavy topics, and they aren't willing to jump into these heavy topics. And I appreciate that you were willing to. And I would love that we could have this conversation again, maybe for a longer term episode.
Of course.
But we're just, let's do our outros. Tell us where you're from and what projects you're working on and where you're going to next and all that good stuff.
So just to make it short, sweet, and to the point, I am from San Antonio, Texas. And then my current project right now that I'm working on is Asgore. He's probably going to take up most of the year, if I'm not mistaken, just because of how much time and effort I want to pour into him. I may do a couple other smaller things here and there, like I may finish my Inosuke head and things like that. I may work on Bowsette a little bit, but he's going to be the main focus just because of how big he is. Right now, the next con we're planning on going to is one in Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's CypherCon. My fiance is actually going to be vending in Artist Alley at that one. And then there's another con the next month that we're going to. It's a new one here in Texas. It's called Riverwalk Anime. It's a brand new con. They've got a lot of good guests coming, like from My Hero and from Demon Slayer, I think. If you guys check them out online, they've got a really big guest lineup. And then after that, we don't quite know what else is going to be happening, but we're going to, of course, go to San Japan Labor Day weekend here in San Antonio. And then as of right now, we are planning for Hallmat unless things change, because this is going to be their last year at the Marriott World Center. After that, they will be changing venue. As of right now, they do not know what that venue is. I'm sure they will announce that closer to time or during closing ceremonies or something. But Hallmat's tentative, but San Japan is a definite in the other two.
Oh, that's so exciting. All right, and where can they find you? I mean, I can reshare your link tree.
Yeah, my link tree. Unfortunately, I don't have my Instagram on there yet. I can add it. Find me on Instagram at Shadowclaw Cosplay. Same thing on Facebook. I'm also on TikTok. If you look up my name, you should be able to find me.
Yep.
But
I,
because I know my username has like ones and zeros in it because it wouldn't let me have the other one. And then
I
I
know,
am on
right?
Twitter as Shadowclaw Cos, but I like never post on there. I just share art. So but yeah, those are my main places. So
Awesome. Yeah, and I shared to all of our services. So thank you so much for being on. I am Chibi Raincloud. You can find me under Chibi_Raincloud on all of my social media. That's TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. I'm excited because I've been building up for SakuraCon. That's my big one, and I'm very excited about it. And then Emerald City Comic Con, which I am very excited about as well because I don't do it as quite as often. But I get to hang out with these great nerds. So I'm excited to see my my fellow Costalk Live people. I will be announcing my panels as I get them approved. I'm doing a handful of panels at Emerald City and a good handful probably at SakuraCon. And if you guys are interested in watching my competition, just repeat until cry style build, you can go follow my Instagram and I'll be posting my whip. And then also you can join our Discord. So Costalk Live has a fantastic Discord. It's a pretty active place. It's got a lot of great cosplayers where you guys can come say hi. We have basically like a place where we can be like, this is what I want to get done this week, and we can hold each other accountable. Or you can just talk about your favorite video games and anime characters. Go ahead and check out costalklive.com to grab the link for that. And thank you so much for everybody who's been here. I will move it over.
Just a reminder, cosplay is not consent. I'm Head in the Clouds Cosplay. I'm really happy to have been able to hop on the show with you guys and meet Shadowclaw Cosplay. I'm excited to see your works in progress with that trident. I think that sounds
thank you.
Super dope. So I will definitely be following for that. I am currently going to, we'll have Tempe LibCon here in Arizona. I know CTL and a few of us will be there. And then ECC with my Chibi Raincloud here in March. Super excited. Since you were showing your Hawks earlier, I do a Mirio, but my favorite character is Aizawa.
Yeah.
I very much just he's a soul character to me, so I'll be debuting him at ECC. So
nice.
Yay for fellow MHA cosplayers.
I will probably bring my hero character. I haven't decided yet. I'm like debating on Deku, but I also have Nejire, which I've never actually worn Nejire at any con. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll do Nejire finally. So I have my SakuraCon lineup picked out, but Emerald City, which is honestly first and I should be more concerned about, I don't have my lineup decided at all. So we'll get there when we get there, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Twitch viewers, for all of the chaos that's going on. We have somebody in the background trying to figure out why it's not letting us do reporting. But either way, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm not entirely sure what next week is, so just keep an eye on our social media as we post stuff. We've had a really busy beginning of the year, but thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day and happy Sunday.